You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello, and welcome to another show. We have Scott Yamamura as a special guest. He's a financial coach and author of Financial Epiphany, and he helps people to discover and unleash their ability to multiply money. And he also is the internal video communications manager for Costco. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, John. So good to be on here.
It's great to have you here. So I'm really excited about helping people create wealth. And we chatted earlier, and I really wanted to have you on the show because there's something different about what you're teaching. And I want you to just start unrolling that for people right now. What is the financial epiphany?
Yeah, awesome. The great myth is that we're going to save when we're older. We're going to save later when we make more money, when we get promoted, and when we're older and wiser. But that is a great myth because we actually need to flip that around. Our multiplying power with our finances is early in our careers. So I developed the 3 financial epiphanies, and I wrote a book and spent 3 years to put this all together and came up with 3 simple rules of thumb so that people could understand this multiplying power that they have. You see, it's an ability that we have. Thinking about accumulating money, this thing, growing wealth, well, that's one thing, and it'll excite some people. But to excite the bulk of people, we need to look at this like it's athletic ability, this power that we have that diminishes over time. So I came up with 3 rules of thumb to describe that. The first, under the most common circumstances, when we start a career, say around age 22, if we're working for about the average 40-year career and earning a pretty common and achievable 7.2% rate of return, under those most common circumstances and investing in the most common ways, say a 401k retirement plan, IRA retirement plan, stocks and bonds, things available to each and every American, when we do that, we have the multiplying power of 2 when we put our money into a investment vehicle like that. So 10 years later, without doing a thing, if you put $1,000 into an investment vehicle all on its own without doing a thing, it should double into 2,000. $1,000 can double into 2,000. So having this sort of simple framework, this first financial epiphany, understanding that money can double every 10 years, it finally put some sort of understanding on something that had no form, had no structure before. Ask somebody, hey, what's going to happen with your 401k plan? What's going to happen with your investments? And the common day person, the common earner, may not have any idea what's happening to their money. So we finally put a simple framework on that. Yes, people can earn more than that, and some might earn less, but it gives us some sort of standard, some sort of baseline to go off of. And that's the first financial epiphany, that money can double every 10 years. You wanted me to move on to the other 2?
Sure, but first, okay, let's just unpack that simple thing.
You bet.
A lot of people don't bother putting their money anywhere, and I certainly didn't when I was younger, that's for sure. I didn't have that much. But with that kind of mentality, then people can think, okay, it might not be that much, but I know I can double whatever that is. So that's a good mindset, first of all, that we can double just by putting the money away and not waiting. Okay, let's hear the second financial epiphany.
All right, so let's jump into that. So we just looked at what happens every 10 years, that money can double. Well, the average career might last about 40 years for the everyday earner. So we need to look at the whole ruler if we just looked at the inch mark. Now, the whole ruler, the expanse of our career is on average 40 years. So that means money can double 4 times. So if 1,000 turns into 2,000, 2,000 turns into 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. Now, we kind of understand that when we invest early in our careers, we have this multiplying power of 16. And when we flip things around like that and we say we have this ability like an athlete, the other day, someone told me it was like having a biological clock that actually we have this window of time where we can act and we have this multiplying power of 16. We're putting a number, we're applying a number to this common everyday method of investing, and saying, if we have this power of 16 when we start our careers, say age 22, well, 10 years later, in our early 30s, we have the multiplying power of 8. It's actually halving. And then 10 years later, we actually have the multiplying power of 4 in our early 40s and 2 in our early 50s. Now, this is for the common everyday investor. It's a good starting point. It's a good baseline if we do the common things. And most people, because financial literacy is low, and we tend not to take action. In fact, when I started investing, I acted extremely timidly. I didn't do much in the beginning because I didn't understand this multiplying power. And I kind of just blended Financial Epiphany 2 and 3 there, that we start with a power of 16, multiplying power of 16 when we start our careers. That's Financial Epiphany number 2. And Financial Epiphany number 3 is that our multiplying power halves every 10 years. And that creates a sense of urgency when we understand that, oh, it's not wait till later, it's actually act early using these common methods and to just get it going. And because I started, the best advice I ever had from my father when I started my career is invest in your retirement account, and do that because there's some free money in it, meaning the company
Mm,
matching. And when I
mm,
looked back, when I finally became interested and came around, and many distractions in life were behind me, I thanked my dad and said, wow, because it was the time factor that made sense. By the time I cared about this thing had been growing for years already. And that's what I want for others, is to get started with it and become savvy later. We owe it to ourselves to learn about this and get on top of our finances. But to get started early is the point. A early investor can beat out a savvy one. I think that's true
mm.
for myself.
For sure. So the key is not worry about knowing everything about investing. Just know enough just to put something in a mutual fund or something like that, or if you're working the 401k, and at least you got the placeholder. Is that kind of your philosophy here?
Get started with the most common ways of investing.
Mm,
So if someone was to start a 401k or IRA plan and invest in an S&P 500 index fund or target date mutual
mhm,
fund, get it going
mhm,
and come back later. Some
mm,
people call it being an automatic millionaire if you do something like that, or to get
mhm.
rich slowly, or get rich automatically. And that's a good way to start. And you can always come back around later, like I myself did, and optimize a little later when you feel savvier about the whole matter.
Okay, now let's talk about that. How have you optimized? Because you're not just doing this. You've built up quite a portfolio from what I understood on our last conversation. So what
Mm.
are you now investing in?
Well, starting with a retirement account is a great place. So, maxing out a 401k plan, which
Mhm,
for an individual would be around in the lower 20,000s per year. Then you would
mhm,
move on to an individual retirement account and start one of those at a discount brokerage firm would be a perfect place. And then you can max that out per year, around 6 or 7,000 per individual. Um, and then beyond that, starting a brokerage account would be my third option. That's just taxable uh, money that's in stocks and bonds, taxable when you sell those. But
mhm,
that would be the third option. And I want to throw in there college savings for children. So a
mhm,
529 plan has
mhm.
tax
For
advantages
college.
for
Mm,
college for those who have children. And
mhm,
a custodial account is an excellent way to save for your children. Meanwhile, you're teaching them and helping them get over the barriers and the intimidation and the
mm.
stigma that comes with investing. When I grew up, my mother said that talking about your money is like talking about your underwear. She said it was a private topic. You don't want to go
Wow.
out there boasting about your bank accounts, but if we're not out there talking about how money works, we could be
Mm,
silently suffering. Once again, the statistics say that most people are in debt at all income levels and living paycheck to paycheck at all income levels. And we're not talking about money, and we absolutely need to understand how it works and to optimize our situation.
for sure. Now, Dave Ramsey has made a big move with this because, there's a Dave Ramsey course in high schools now. A lot of high schools have
Mm,
the financial, how to take care of your personal finances, which I think is fantastic. Okay,
Yes.
so now what are you investing in now? Are you investing also in real estate, or
Mhm.
are you doing more uncommon investing as you've gotten better and better at investing?
Sure. All those accounts that I just listed from 529 plan to brokerage accounts. So definitely, I call that planting a financial garden when you have
Mhm,
multiple accounts that are growing for
mhm,
different reasons. They're tax advantage, things like that. So
mhm,
I'm involved in all those. Have my son becoming very familiar with all these things
mhm,
as he's growing up. He's a teenager right now. Has accounts of his
mm.
own, which he's probably 10 times further than I was at his same age. And I think
Yeah,
that's always a great point, is to lift up the next generation, since I know what I wish I knew now,
for sure.
and he's a teenager and I was in my 40s when I learned. But
Great.
in addition to that, diversifying is fantastic. We talked a lot about stocks and bonds and mutual funds and index funds, which are wonderful, very passive way to grow your wealth. But in addition to that, I would say real estate is another great area to be invested in, because it's called real estate. It's real. It's physical. It
Mm,
everybody needs a place to live, as they say. And I live in the greater Seattle area where homes appreciate. And so holding on to some properties, one to live in yourself and others to
mm,
potentially consider as rental income or to sell down the road, another great way to diversify. So I would say those are my two favorites.
mhm,
And I would even throw in an additional, this is kind of a mixed answer, but having a side business. So as you had mentioned before, I do have a career, 40 hours a
mhm,
week, helping Costco Wholesale communicate to its employees and on the outside. So I'm regularly distilling messages down for 300,000 employees worldwide. And that's why I wanted to distill messages down about finance, when I thought, boy, this is a misunderstood, crowded, and intimidating space. Let's just give people just the basics. But having a career, in addition to that, having a side gig. So my passion project is teaching about finances. My passion
mm,
is to help people each individually optimize their situation for themselves, for their families. We owe it to ourselves to learn this. Learning doesn't stop when we get our diploma. Learning
mm,
needs to continue. And because personal finance is taught in some places, and I love that it's getting into more high schools nationwide. A lot of parents aren't teaching it. We don't feel equipped. And so that's the reason why I came up with these three simple rules of thumb, very easy to apply ourselves, but also very easy to teach. And
mm,
so that's another it's another potential income stream. And I'd like to mention, even with my business, I have an investment account with that, and created something I call a forever fund, which is when you put in money, which
mm,
say you put in $25,000 into an investment account for your business, and it doubles every 10 years, maybe even quicker than that. Say you get up to it, that 25,000 doubles to 50,000 all on its own 10 years later. 10 years later, that 50,000 doubles into $100,000. Well, now we talked about money growing at a common 7.2% rate of return every year. That $100,000 can generate $7,200 in on average every year, and you can pull that out. This is the goose that's laying the golden egg every year. And then the next year, that $100,000 can pop out another 7,200. Pull it out,
mm,
spend it on your
mm,
business. And then the next year, do the same and the same. And it's continuous. It's the goose that lays the golden egg. It's commonly known as an endowment out there
mhm,
in the world, with hospitals, colleges, universities, and other organizations that we like to receive services from. But you can create an endowment on your own and for yourself and
mm.
for your business. And so that's another way, another tool I like to apply when you asked about ways to invest.
Fantastic. So you have, and also you're taking it out to invest in your business. Very important point there, because a lot of people don't actually understand that when they have a business, they have to invest in the business to grow it. They just think it's going to grow with no
Mhm.
investment. And I'm always astonished when I hear people say that they are not willing to invest in their business. And I'm puzzled. So good.
Mm,
You've built in something that you can use to invest back into your business. Okay.
yes,
Scott, what's different about all this? Like, you wrote the book, it's a real book. You took 3 years on it. you know,
you bet.
yeah. What's different about this that
Right.
you were saying some other even financial advisors had never heard
Mm.
this? What is that difference? What makes this important that you're distilling this?
What pleased me the most as I started spreading this message around is when financial advisors were saying, "I've been I've been coaching people for decades, and I have not come across this before." And I feel like people need to hear about finances a different way. It's going to perk your ears up when you hear it the way that you were meant to hear it. And of course, 10 years ago, when I started studying finance, this is what stood out to me. So I'm teaching the very thing that perked my ears up in the beginning and got me to take action in this way. And so the perfect example is when I understood that money could double every 10 years. I just love that. There's the what's called the rule of 72 in the financial world. And it's a simple equation. You take the number 72 and you divide it by the rate of return that you think you're going to get out of your investments. And my favorite number is 7.2%. That's what we've been discussing. And the
Mm,
result is when you take 72 and divide it by your rate of return that you expect to get, you get the number of years it'll take to double your money. And that we know is 10 now. That money can double every 10 years. When I understood that, I saved for my son's college. I started when he was 7 years old and I stopped when he was 9 because I knew
mm,
that money could double. I saved about half of what I thought he needed for college. Now, the money certainly has doubled and even more than that. He's only
mm,
16, but he's had enough money to go to college and pay for in state expenses, tuition for years now.
mm.
So and we stopped saving when he was 9 years old. Now, most people that will save for their kids' college, or actually, I'm going to put that another way. Most students who go to college, 60% will take student loans out. The
Mhm.
average amount is around $40,000, and that means that at the 10 years that they're going or that they're starting their career and have graduated college, the 10 years after, they're paying another $10,000 uh, in student loans in their
Right.
these payments. And so a
Mhm.
college education that might cost $40,000 is actually costing $50,000 for the
Yes.
common student and borrower. But what we're talking
Yes.
about is, oh, but if you save 10 years earlier, you only have to save half of
Right.
$40,000, $20,000. Now, if I had been even more aggressive about this when my son was born, I'd only have to save half of a half and set aside
Right.
$10,000 for the same thing that this borrower
Right.
is spending
Right.
$50,000 for.
Wow. And the good thing is, I believe that if you put it in the 529, if they
Yes.
don't go to college, you can still pull it out, right?
Yes, there's an amazing thing that just started a couple years ago is that I think the number is 35,000. You can put $35,000 of that into a Roth IRA and really jumpstart your child's retirement account in their early 20s
Wow.
by turning some of this 529 plan, rolling it over into an IRA. But yes, you can pull money out, but there's penalties
Mm.
if you're using it, say, for yourself.
Or, well, I mean, if they don't go to college,
If they don't
then,
go to college.
you can get it out. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Also, don't forget that you can get a lot of scholarships. I know
Hmm.
people that didn't pay a cent for college, even
Yeah.
though they saved up for it, they didn't have
Yes.
to pay because there's so many scholarships that people can get and they can layer them. A lot of people don't know that, and they don't know
Hmm.
that you can get scholarships up until the end of your college studies. So till say it's a 4-year degree, you can keep applying for scholarships till you finish the degree. A lot of people don't know that. Did you know that, Scott?
No, absolutely. I recommend saving for college and not leaving it up to chance or the government
Mm,
or anybody else. I
right.
recommend saving up, but then also applying for these scholarships because the
For
idea
sure.
is, hey, that's money that's set aside, it's allocated. And
Mm,
what better experience is there for a child who's growing up and going out into the world to work hard and apply for these things and compete for these things and to
mm,
one
win.
day open up their mail and have the blessing of, oh my goodness, look at this free money. Someone wants to support me that I don't even know.
Yeah.
And that's a huge encouragement and boost to any child who's entering their career.
It's also amazing that there are scholarships. I think it's great. Okay, so that's the difference, is that the other financial advisors had not come up with your formula. That's and how to explain it that way, even
Mm,
though everybody is saying to get mutual funds and index funds, and
yeah.
this is nothing new, right? But I think what's different,
Common everyday methods.
right, common everyday methods, but method to the madness. So, Scott, this has been very interesting the way you've broken this down into simple terms so anyone can understand it, which is super important because people are lost with the information sometimes. And if it were, bottled into something that everybody could understand, more people could avail themselves of common methods.
Mm,
Okay, Scott, what is a mindset or a philosophy that you have that you'd like to leave people with?
yes. That multiplying money is an ability. It's for you. This is not some other thing. You are not an imposter. This is for you. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family and the next generations to understand your ability, discover your ability to multiply money. Just to reiterate the three financial epiphanies, money can double every 10 years under common circumstances of investing. You start with a power of 16 when you start your career in your early 20s, and that multiplying power of 16 diminishes by half every 10 years. That creates the urgency to act. And that's the formula, as you say. Those are the three financial epiphanies, the three rules of thumb.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed this. And if you did, please write a review and subscribe, and we will see you on the next show.
You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jean Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jean Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.